Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today we're going to be doing a video that's a little bit different. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the top 10 best-selling men's fragrances as of right now. Now I know what you're asking yourself, how can you tell what the 10 best-selling fragrances are right now? It's not like I have access to every department store's sales figures across America as to which fragrances are outperforming other fragrances. And you're not wrong, but I'll talk to you about that in just 1 second. For now, let's jump into this. So here's the deal. Most of you guys that watch my channel are going to be at least decently educated as far as fragrances go. So most of you that watch my channel probably do your shopping from discounters online for the most part. Stores like FragranceNet or FragranceX where you can pick fragrances up very cheap. And then a certain subsect of you out there prefer to shop at retail. But most of you that are watching this are probably a little more educated on fragrances than your typical guy. So you're going to know about a lot more fragrances out there. A lot of the new releases and the stuff that gets talked about online, whether on YouTube, Facebook, forums, whatever. I wanted to see though what your average guy is actually buying, because that can be completely different than what we talk about in the fragrance community. So this list is Amazon's top sellers. Because your average guy who doesn't really look into fragrances that much probably is just going to go onto Amazon.com and buy stuff there. So I wanted to see how different those top 10 sellers are versus everything that's getting talked about and hyped in the fragrance community. So with that explanation of this video out of the way, let's jump into the top 10 best sellers as of this video of men's fragrances on Amazon.com. First off, a quick honorable mention because this one is number 11 and I feel like it should be brought up. It's Davidoff Cool Water. Some of you probably thought that this would be higher on the list, and honestly, there are some fragrances not on this list at all that blow my mind. I figured that they would have been here, but they're not. I'll talk about that more as we go on, but yeah, number 11 right now, Cool Water. This one has lavender, mint, green notes, sea notes, even tobacco in it. Most often this gets compared to Creed Green Irish Tweed, and there is a definite similarity between the two. There's also a similarity between Cool Water and Cody Aspen as well, which is another popular cheap fragrance. You'll get debate sometime about which came first, Green Irish Tweed or Cool Water. The answer to that is Green Irish Tweed. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. It came out a couple years before Cool Water. But that's taking nothing away from Cool Water because this was a massive fragrance in the 80s, and obviously tons of guys are still wearing this one. So at number 11, as of this video, Cool Water. Number 10 is a fragrance that's a little bit of a surprise to me. If I broke down what I thought the top 10 best-selling men's fragrances were just by normal average guys, this wouldn't be in it. But giving it a little more thought, it is a really popular fragrance. The original Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue Pour Homme, not one of the many summer flankers that have come out since this one was first released. It has bergamot, mandarin orange, grapefruit, and pepper as some of the main notes. And this was the original summer flanker to Dolce & Gabbana's Pour Homme. Not to go off on too much of a tangent, but Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme to me is a little bit more of a classic men's fragrance than this one is. At least if I were ranking out how important men's fragrances are, Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme would be above Light Blue Pour Homme. But apparently Light Blue Pour Homme is much more popular than the original Pour Homme. Like I made mention of, Light Blue has lots of flankers now. Every year it gets a new summer release, and then of course there was also the Light Blue Intense release, which personally I think is a little bit better than the original one. Either way, people are still really digging this one, Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue Pour Homme, number 10. Number 9 is a fragrance that is no surprise on this list, though it's one that you might think would be a little bit higher because it's basically the king of blue fragrances at this point. It is Dior Sauvage Eau de Toilette. It's got pink pepper, Sichuan pepper, black pepper, and ambroxan and bergamot as some of the main notes. Lots of different pepper notes. Like I said, this is pretty much the king of the blue fragrances. It gets hated on a lot in the fragrance community, but you can't really deny its compliment factor or versatility. And as well, the Eau de Toilette version of Sauvage projects like a monster and lasts for hours and hours. Extremely easy to wear, one that you can wear in pretty much any season. You can wear it day or night, and your average person out there absolutely loves Dior Sauvage. So it's not a surprise at all to see this one on the list, though you might think it would be a little bit higher. I think the reason that it's not higher up though is because it's a little bit more expensive than pretty much everything on this list, which you're going to notice a lot when we start getting up to the best sellers. You are probably not at all expecting what's going to be toward the top unless you're looking up the top 10 list right now. So there we go at number 9, Dior Sauvage Eau de Toilette. Coming in at number 8 is a Versace fragrance, and this one also is not one that I would have expected to be in the top 10, but here it is. Versace Man Eau Fraiche. I would have probably expected Versace Pour Homme to be in the place of Versace Man Eau Fraiche, but looking at the rankings as of right now, Versace Man Eau Fraiche is outselling Versace Pour Homme pretty handily. This has cedar musk, lemon, bergamot, and starfruit as some of the main notes, and this actually does have a strong similarity to Dolce & Gabbana's light blue for women. This is a compliment getting fragrance. It's not too expensive. It's gonna be a daytime, warm weather kind of fragrance, more for casual wear. In those warmer months, Man Eau Fraiche is a really nice everyday wear kind of fragrance. It's not too loud of a fragrance. It's fresh. It's got some fruity sweetness. It's got a musky, woody dry down that's a little bit basic but still pleasing. And the name carries a little bit of cachet with your average person. If you say you're wearing Versace, that sounds like you're wearing something that's important. I'm just talking about to your average person, so somebody that's hardcore into indie or niche fragrances, don't flame me for saying that. It's the truth. Number 8, Versace Man Eau Fraiche. It's gonna take me to number 7. This one, not really a surprise being in the top 10 because this is one of the most talked about cheapies probably over the past decade. It's easy to find all across the US for in the $20 range. So people will buy this, they'll enjoy it, and they'll repurchase it. Nautica Voyage. Green apple, green notes, lotus, some of the main notes in the fragrance. As I've said a number of times on this channel, Nautica Voyage for the longest time was hailed as basically the pinnacle of cheapies. Anytime somebody was getting into fragrances and they were new and asking questions about what can I buy that smells good, that's gonna get me compliments that I can wear in the spring and summer, that's not gonna cost me too much money, that's gonna have decent performance, people would always say, Nautica Voyage, get that first. This is an old style bottle with the metal cap. I've talked about this on the channel before. The newer style bottles of Nautica Voyage do not have this metal cap. They actually have a plastic cap. So if you buy Nautica Voyage new and you've never had it before and you see mine looking like this and then you get one with a plastic cap, don't worry, it's not fake. They just changed up the caps. What I pull most from this is the green apple and the green notes especially. That's what I remember from this one. The apple and the opening especially. Great warm weather fragrance, super cheap, something that you can spray on really heavy every single day and not care because you can pick it up again for 20 bucks. So not a big surprise to see this one in the top 10 because it's just, again, so inexpensive. And when so many people over the years have talked about this being a great buy for the money, not really a surprise to see people shelling out 15, 20 bucks to pick this one up. It's gonna take us to number 6, and this fragrance is one that I think definitely shows the reach of the community. Might be the only one on this list that shows the reach of the community, if I'm being honest. Armaf Club de Nuit Intense Man. Lemon birch, pineapple, blackcurrant, some of the notes in this fragrance, but you already knew that because you knew that this is a clone of Creed Aventus. This has been hyped up on YouTube, on Reddit, on Facebook, on forums, anywhere that people talk about fragrances, this has been hyped. To date, this is probably the most popular, most successful clone fragrance that's ever existed. This has been out for years and people still post about this all the time online. I actually have a review of this coming out sometime over the next week or so, just because I realized I never reviewed it. A lot of people hate on this and say that the opening is just too harsh and it puts them off from the fragrance completely. They'll compare the opening to like lemon cleaner, like a lemon pledge. When I went back and gave this more wearing so I could get ready for the review, I really thought the opening actually wasn't as harsh as I remembered. It's not that it smells amazing, but it's not as bad as some people make it out to be. Once this dries down though, that's when the magic really takes over. This is a compliment monster. That's well documented. People have talked about that for years now. It just is what it is. A lot of people have better luck with Club de Nuit Intense Man than they do real Aventus. Great performance on this fragrance as well. Lasts all day, projects really hard, and it really is a great bang for your buck for most guys out there that don't want to pony up the cash for actual Creed Aventus. So this one is in the top 10 because the community has talked about it so much. At number 6. Number 5 is another Versace fragrance. You probably know which one it is because this is most likely their most popular scent right now. It is Versace Eros. Vanilla mint, tonka apple are some of the notes in this fragrance, and this one is well known as a club fragrance and a big compliment getter as well. When Versace Eros was first released, it did catch a bunch of hate. A lot of people crapped on this one and pretty much wrote it off. Over the years though, it's gained more and more popularity. It's almost like a ball rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger as it goes. The more people that have tried this, the more people have decided that they really like it, and it's had kind of a resurgence online. More people are talking about this now and giving it a little more praise now than when it was first released. It has great performance, lasts for a long time, projects very heavily, which again is why it's such a good club fragrance, along with this sweetness that it has. That helps. And since this is a Versace, it's not all that expensive either. So not a huge surprise to see this one in the top 10, and it comes in at number 5. We've reached number 4, and this one's a good one. This is a fragrance that I talk about a lot. It's a fragrance I really like. It's from the 80s. Maybe you know what it is. Drakkar Noir. It smells nice. This one has a ton of notes, just a ton. Some of the main ones though are gonna be some 80s staples like oak moss, lavender, leather, and fur. I just love seeing Drakkar Noir in the top 10, I really do. For those of you unaware, I wore this fragrance a lot when I was in elementary school. Drakkar Noir is, to me, one of the quintessential 80s fragrances. Does it smell a little bit dated now? Sure, but that doesn't mean it smells bad. It smells awesome. And obviously, there are a lot of you out there that are still wearing Drakkar Noir as a signature scent. A lot of you out there probably have been wearing this for over 30 years at this point. Good for you. I mean, there's not too much else to say about this. If you haven't smelled Drakkar Noir, what are you doing? It's super cheap nowadays. Get it, add it to your collection. Bring it back. I wanna see Drakkar Noir become as popular as Dior Sauvage. Could you imagine that? Just going out and literally half the guys are wearing Drakkar Noir again? That would be awesome. We're in the top 3, and number 3 I don't actually own. I do own a similar fragrance though, so I'll show that one to you. The bottle design is the exact same. The only difference is the color of the fragrance on the inside. And it is ultimately what's on the inside that counts. At number 3 is Nautica, just Nautica Classic. Are you surprised to see that in the top 3? Because I was. It has lemon, lime, aldehydes, and sandalwood as some of the notes. The bottle, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, looks like this, only the fragrance on the inside is more of a teal color instead of this blue color. Admittedly, it has been a while since I've smelled Nautica Classic. I seem to recall it being just a very 90s fragrance, if that makes any sense. And it would come across as dated nowadays from what I remember. I also recall the performance being pretty crappy, much like this one, which I do remember wearing. Nautica Classic is extremely inexpensive. You can find that online actually for less than Nautica Voyage a lot of times. And as well, you can find Nautica Classic in TJ Maxx and Ross stores across America. So this one was a complete surprise to me, and I think it's just because of how cheap it is that there have probably been a decent amount of people out there that have started to wear this just because of how inexpensive it is. And they feel like, well, I'm wearing a Nautica, which is a step up above Axe body spray. So a lot of guys out there probably think that it's okay to have that fragrance as their signature scent, which I guess technically it is okay, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just, that's a cheap fragrance, and it smells like it. Since I don't have that one, and it's been a while since I've smelled it, we'll go into number 2, which is actually a fragrance I also don't own. I thought for a second about whether I should include this one or not, but it is listed on Amazon as a cologne, so I guess we will. It is Raw Chemistry Cologne. And I'm not trying to be mean here, but I don't think that people that know a lot about fragrances would be buying this one. I have some of the information from the listing on Amazon here, which I'm gonna read off to you. This is worded poorly. This is how they wrote it. This is not me forgetting how to speak English. Raw Chemistry Cologne for Homme is the premier cologne for men. High-end, luxury, exclusive, executive packaging. For Homme is the cologne for men that defines the modern man. Masculine and subtle, it leaves an aura of high-end and exclusivity. It says it's made in the USA, but that doesn't sound like it was written by somebody that uses English as their native tongue, so who knows. It says the notes are Italian woods. It says that it's silky smooth with a moisturizing blend to increase the lasting effect. According to the brand, is one of the best scented colognes for men to be tested. It's alcohol-free and has a proprietary blend of natural oils to protect your skin. Oh, and it also says it's packed with pheromones. Pheromone fragrances are not a thing. And yet there are enough men on Amazon right now searching pheromone cologne and buying this to place it as the number 2 best-selling men's fragrance on Amazon's entire website. That really shows you what guys are actually after when they wear fragrances. So yeah, guys, pheromone colognes are not a thing. That's not how it works. If you don't believe me, you can Google it. Some people say that hedione, which is an aroma chemical placed into fragrances, works like a sort of semi-pheromone, as in women will find hedione attractive if it's placed into a fragrance. The jury's still kind of out on that though. And yet here is raw Chemistry Cologne, tearing it up on Amazon. Good for you. The reviews are kind of funny. You have these guys who have sprayed this on, and for whatever reason, it's like the placebo effect has hit them. Suddenly these guys think that they're way more attractive to women, even though literally nothing has changed. And you have comments on Amazon saying, wow, this is amazing, women can't keep their hands off me. Come on guys. Either way, that one's at number 2. And that takes us to number 1, which is actually a fragrance I've already shown you. Kind of mind blown that this one is at number 1, but it is. Nautica Blue. Bergamot, jasmine, sandalwood, water lily, and pineapple are some of the notes. This is a fragrance I have a little bit of history with. I'm not really a huge fan, if I'm being honest. It's not that the fragrance smells bad. I mean, it smells a little cheap, generic, aquatic. When I was much younger, I went on a vacation with a girlfriend of mine. We were really close, things were very serious, and it didn't work out. This is the fragrance that I took on vacation with me, that I wore every day. What a terrible choice. So now this fragrance is kind of a reminder of that. It's another fragrance that's super, super cheap. You can find this again in TJ Maxx's and Ross's all across America, like many other Nautica fragrances. At TJ Maxx, they don't even bother to put this fragrance in the little plastic protective case. So half the time people steal this. You'll go into TJ Maxx and see a box ripped open with nothing in it. And a lot of times it's one of these. Apparently though, super popular, number 1 best-selling men's fragrance on Amazon right now, Nautica Blue. So that means there are countless men out there across the United States rocking this one. Now I just want to touch briefly on some of the fragrances that were not in the top 10, which very much surprised me. Acqua di Gio, for example, which is, to my knowledge, the best-selling men's fragrance of all time. That one was probably the biggest stunner to be left out. I half expected something like Curve to make the list, just because of how popular it was in its heyday. I also wouldn't have been surprised to see something like Tommy from Tommy Hilfiger, or CK1, or Calvin Klein Eternity, but no Calvin Klein's in the top 10, no Tommy Hilfiger in the top 10. Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male, L'Odyssey by Issey Miyake, nowhere to be found. Paco Rabanne 1 Million, another one that I thought would be in the top 10 possibly, and didn't make the list. Boss Bottled, also nowhere to be found. But it is what it is. As of this video, as of when I'm shooting this, these are the top 10 best sellers. All right guys, thanks for hanging out with me today and taking a look at these fragrances, kind of getting a look inside what's popular with just your everyday guy. Somebody that pays no attention to the fragrance community, new fragrances, anything like that. This is what they're rocking. This is what you're up against. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys again next time. See you guys.